Hi, my name is Matthew Bellisario. Thanks for coming back by the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel from the heart of the Deep South on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, where we talk about music, records, do record reviews, interviews, and much more. Today, I'm bringing you a wonderful conversation that I recently had with Amos Hoffman about this fantastic jazz record called Minor Operation. One of the main things that I'm trying to do on this channel is promote new albums, new recordings by working musicians. This is a fantastic record. If you missed my full needle drop review that I did not long ago, I'll put a link below. You can go watch that and check out the album, have a listen. Fantastic recording, audiophile recording. But this is also a very, very unique jazz record because not only does he play jazz guitar on this record, but he also plays the oud. So it's very unique. I'm really excited. Those of you who are interested in jazz music, interested in playing guitar, all the mechanics that goes into making a record like this, I think you're really going to enjoy this engaging conversation with Amos Hoffman. All right, welcome to the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel. I'm happy here to have with me today composer, guitarist, and oud player Amos Hoffman. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is it Amos or Amos?
You can say either.
Okay, either. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for coming on the channel, and we're going to be talking about your new record today. Just a little bit about you before we get started. I see that you started playing around the age of 6, playing guitar, and you're also from Israel.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
it looks like you took private lessons. You went to the Rubin Academy of Music in Jerusalem. You then went to Amsterdam at some point. We'll talk a little bit about your musical journey, going to New York City, collaborating with different musicians like Abishai Cohen, for example, a well-known bass player. You've released now, up to this point, 6 studio records, this being your 6th for the JoJo label. And I think your first album came out in 1999, so you've been doing this for quite some time. In 2013, you received one of the prestigious awards from Israel, the Landau Prize for Arts and Sciences, which is really neat, which recognizes your achievement in the field of jazz. I guess you're now living in the United States. I'm not sure where you're at now, if you're still in South Carolina or...
Yeah, I'm in South Carolina.
Okay. And we're going to talk about your latest record here. But just first of all, thank you for coming. And if you can maybe just tell us a little bit about how you got started in music and playing guitar and how you started playing the oud and all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I started. I had all my life as a very young kid. I was drawn to music. I don't think there is like a reason why you was just drawn to something, you know. But I was drawn to that from since I can remember myself. And my parents, they weren't musicians. My father was an artist. He was a sculptor and a painter, and there was a big appreciation of music in the house. And my grandmother had a huge collection of music. My grandmother, she was from Hungary. She was born in Hungary. So she had a huge collection of also classical music, but also Hungarian music, like gypsy Hungarian music. And because she was just a jazz lover, she had like a few jazz albums. And that was a huge influence on me, because that's since I remember myself. I was listening to Louis Armstrong and Ray Charles. And I just loved it.
And so what was the first instrument? Was it guitar or?
It's a guitar, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I was asking my parents to learn, like to study music and specifically guitar. Like, I think when I was 3 years old, and then like, they said, okay, they actually talked to somebody, and it's like, he's too young. Wait till he's like 6 years old. So then when I started first grade in elementary school, then when I started, they bought me a guitar, and I started studying classical guitar. Yeah.
And then so then you just gradually got into jazz or started, how did you start playing jazz or get interested in that music?
Well, I was like drawn to that, like through the albums, without having no knowledge about what I want to do. I actually wanted to play basketball and play soccer. That was like my my bigger passion when I was younger. I loved horses. I never had horses, but I loved them. I wanted to ride horses. But then, um, when I turned about 14, I I had like my father passed away, and then I got into a lot of like problems in school. I got into fights, and I wasn't making homework, and I was failing everything. And my mother thought it would be a friendlier environment for me to be in. There's a high school in Jerusalem. It's called the Robin Academy,
Okay.
and I went to that. My mother moved me to that school, and I end up being like with the bad guys, with the bad kids in school. The kids that want to go smoke cigarettes behind the school, and those guys were like mainly the jazz guys. So that's how I was like, okay, man, I want to do that. And then, influenced by friends that were with me in high school and the teachers that were great. We had two great teachers. That this is the period before internet, before YouTube. So if somebody tells you something and it's a right thing, it's a big thing. It's a big information.
And then what led you to start playing the oud? Because and we'll get into a little bit more discussion about it when we talk about some of the songs on the record. But when did you start playing that instrument?
I started playing the oud when I was, I think, around 10. My father, like I said, they were that side of the family. They were from Hungary, and when they moved to Israel, they were basically refugees from the Holocaust. So they stayed in a temporary housing that they had for the newcomers. And a lot of the people that he been with, they were people from different Arabic countries, people from Iraq or Egypt or Morocco. And I don't know if that's your audience know, but the oud is a very strong representative of the Middle East. And so anyway, my father came back from work one day, and he's like, I want to take you to visit a friend in the neighborhood. And we walked to this guy's apartment, and he was selling an oud. And my father bought me an oud, and completely randomly. So I was studying guitar, but I always had also oud at the house. So I was kind of playing it by ear. And then later on, I took some lessons, of course. But it was always there since I was 10 years old.
Now, I don't know that much about the oud, but I was reading there's a couple of different tuning families, an Arabian tuning, and then a Turkish tuning, and then there's Egyptians. Can you tell us a little bit about the tunings? I think you use at least a couple of different ones on this record, right?
No, the tuning I use the one tuning. I'm tuning my oud Arabic tuning.
Okay.
Yes, there's a. I think the Arabic and the Egyptian is the same. Okay,
Okay.
but the thing about the oud, um, that the two low strings are a lot of time using as open string, so you can change them. The Turks tune the high four strings basically a step above the Arabic tuning. So, like if this is the Arabic tuning, it will be C G D A. So that will be one step above. A Turkish oud will be, okay? The low strings, people tune them differently according to the tune. So if I'm like, let's say I'm doing this, that this is my open string. If I have a tune that is in a different key, I'm changing the tuning of the low two strings.
Give you the
Yeah, but
kind of a bass accompaniment.
yes. So, but me personally, I never changed it. I just keep it as it is. I keep it on the Arabic tuning.
And then what about playing fretless, because there's no frets on there, right? So did that take a while to get used to? Because you can kind of get that really unique sound with no frets, right?
Yeah, the frets, the no frets, that gives you the possibility to play quarter tones, which are very exist. They don't exist in the Western instruments, because there's like all the string instrument, the bow instruments, the viola, violin, cello, and double bass. You can also play quarter tones, but we don't use them in Western music. So I can go like. So I'm using the quarter tone because I can do it.
Right. So that's very unique, because you don't hear that on, of course, in jazz. And this is a really neat record, because you have kind of some straight ahead type of songs, but then you also have these particular tunes, and we'll get into it and talk about the album here in a minute. When it comes to the guitar side of things, what kind of guitars are you playing, and what kind of gear are you using, like amplifiers? Is there anything particular that you used on this record to get the sound that you wanted to get as far as the guitars go?
No, not really. I'm not really so much of a gear guy. I have quite a few guitars, but I'm always using only one. I have a huge collection of ouds, but I'll use one at a time. I'll use one, could be like for a decade.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And I don't know why I have so many. It's like hard for me to answer.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, where I have so many guitars, but there's like one acoustic I play usually, and one electric, and then once in a while I'll pick up some of the other ones. But I think you get used to playing ones you like the feel of and how they sound.
Yeah. So like on this album, I used the guitar that I had it for, I think, about 15 years. That was my main guitar. It was an old Epiphone, Sorrento. That's the name of the model, Sorrento.
Okay.
From 61. And I use the amplifier that they had there. It was some kind of a tube Fender.
Okay.
I use on my daily life, I use a Polyton.
And then you probably don't use any effects or pedals really, or anything like that, right? It's all
Not on
clean.
this one, no. Yeah.
So getting into the record, how did this record come about? How did you meet Simon and get involved with JoJo Records, and then this project, how did it get arranged?
Well, I know Simon for many years. For many, many years. I'll say 40 years. We grew up actually on the same neighborhood. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I was very close. I'm still am, but we are not so much together now. But I was really close friend with his brother, his younger brother, and we knew each other, but we weren't close friends in Israel. I mean, I knew about him. I knew that he's a good guitar player, and he knew about me, but we weren't like close friends. Well, I mean, and then I used to be a lot of time in Paris when I played with Avishai, and he came a few times. Then I came a couple of times with my band to Paris, and he came because he's located part time in Paris, and there's a big love. I mean, a lot of respect, musically and friendly. So when he approached me to do this, I was very excited because I never kind of, excuse me, I never did it, never did an album that was produced by a producer. I always kind of produced it myself. I made all the decisions, and it was really a good experience for me. Also to share this responsibility, and then there's somebody we are like, I mean, it was very easy. The process was very easy. We agreed about pretty much everything, but it's reassuring. Then you're like, yes, that take is better. It's like, yeah, that take is better. Stuff like that.
Right. So, and how did you did Simon pick who you're going to play with? Did you already know Lenny White? For on this album, you have Lenny White playing the drums, and you have Santi Dabriano on the bass. So, did you already kind of have those guys in mind for the record?
No, that's one of the things that I'm talking about is exactly this, because like I always recorded all my albums. I recorded with people that I knew and that were my friends. I never called somebody. It won't make sense for me to call somebody that I don't know. But then when I spoke to Simon, and he's like, we can choose this guy or this guy, and then he's like Lenny White. I was like, wow, man. I know Lenny from so many albums, and I love Lenny White. And it was for me like, also financially, I will never be able to afford to hire Lenny White. So when he came up with this idea, I was like, wow, that sounds to me like a great idea. I mean, it's an honor for me to play with somebody like Lenny White. And then when he said Santi Dobriani, I mean, I never met Santi. I lived in New York for 10 years in the 90s, for 9 years. And I never met him, but I knew him. I knew about him. I heard him on different concerts and some albums. So when he recommended that we'll do this too, I was like completely excited about it, because it also was a completely new experiment for me to meet with two musicians that I never met before.
So tell us about, did you 6 of the songs, there's 8 songs on the record, 6 of them you wrote, your compositions. How did that work as far as getting the music out? Did you wrote all the music? Did you send those lead sheets out to them beforehand? And then how did that all come together in the studio?
Yeah, I sent all the stuff, all the lead sheets, and also recordings. I recorded it, like on the phone type of, but just to have an idea of the tune, and I sent it to them, and they came pretty prepared, but we still had one long rehearsal before that, and of course you're talking about like the top musicians in the world. They're. I mean, I hate the word professional, because sometimes professional musicians, they could be super professional but not artistic.
Right.
Right, but these guys, they are like super professional and very artistic, so they nailed it.
So did you
Yeah.
did you just have lead sheets in the studio and then you just basically, because I know a lot of these seem to be pretty heavily improvised as well. How
Yeah,
did
yeah.
that work?
There's a lot of room for improvisation, and that's another thing because Simon was like, "Man, we got to do a trio album," and I always played. I mean, I played trio all my life because a lot of situations they pay only for trio, right?
Right.
Or you do a anyway. But I thought like to. I did thought to record trio. I thought to record something bigger, maybe quartet or quintet, because the bigger the band, the less kind of like less of responsibility coming out on from your back. There's a saxophone solo, trumpet solo, and then guitar solo, right? But if it's a trio, it's all you. And when Simon came up with this, I re- I really it's triggered something in me that I was like, yes, I want to do a trio album. It's a time to do trio album. Um, and so sorry, I forgot what your original
Yeah.
question was.
So, well, with these guys, I mean, this is a really also a fantastic sounding record. So, how many did you just do a few takes of each song and then pick the best one? Is that, are they all live takes?
Yeah,
I think there was one song you overdubbed on here, I
yeah,
think.
exactly. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's a very live album. We did like three takes on each tune, and chose the one we like. And we did a few tunes that didn't enter the album. Uh, that they sound good too, but album, it is what it is. You choose it, and then you're like, okay, those are the 7 songs, 8 songs, whatever. That's what makes it an album, and that's why I mean, like the way people listen today is very much track related, and I find
Right.
myself too. I listen to like somebody tells me, "Hey man, check this. I want to play this tune," so I check this one tune of Lee Morgan from that album, and it's a different experience than to listen to a full album.
Right.
Uh, and I mean, that's like the original creation is a full album. You listen, and there's a lot of like why tune A is coming before tune B. That somebody made this decision. It's an artistic decision. Why tune 3 is before tune 4, and there's 4 seconds in between and not 6. All of those little details, there are musical decision that somebody created this album, or a few people, not one. It's like in this case, it's me, it's Simon, the sound engineers, the sound mastering engineer. So me personally, I completely moved back to vinyls because that's the only way I'm listening to the experience. I'm getting the full experience.
Right. This is a great listen all the way through. And so let's talk a little bit about the tracks and the track order because you start off with Aunt Sharon, which is your own song. It's more of kind of a straight ahead jazz song, right, with the guitar.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about these. Let's talk about side one. You have Aunt Sharon, Minor Operation, which is your song. Hidden Garden, which you play the oud on that one, and then you have All Alone, which is an Irving Berlin tune. So tell us a little bit about those.
And well, I'm writing music all the time. It's like even if I'm not sitting down and writing it, I'm writing it in my brain. It's like always something is going on. And and so Aunt Sharon is like a ballad that I wrote. Um, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I think for me it's one of my better compositions in terms of the way the melody and the harmony sit down together. It's like I think it's a really good one.
Yeah,
And I don't think I was influenced by something specifically about it. Like because there's some stuff that, for example, minor operation it is influenced by like some you can say by some hard bop tunes that got those stops or breaks that I'm okay. Let's say I can hear like some jazz messengers playing. I can hear the jazz messengers playing that tune. That will work with. Anyway,
yeah,
I'm there.
definitely. Yeah, it has that sound to it. Yeah,
Yeah. I cannot tell you it's not trying to imitate anything. It's just like my take on that style or whatever.
right.
Then that is Irving Berlin tune, All Alone. This is a tune that I love to find those standards that they weren't played by too many people. You know that there's not. So like if you try to find, I think there's like maybe two. There's a Monk version, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe Frank Sinatra did it. I'm not sure. Maybe not. So I know this tune from Thelonious Monk. I learned it from him, and I just love it. It's a beautiful. It's such a simple melody. It's almost like a country melody. You know, if you think do da dee, dee da do dee, dee do da dee da. You know, it's so basic, but the way it sit down with the harmony and the melody together, it's very unique. Something very pretty.
and then the first song on the record, I think that has you playing the oud is the Hidden Garden,
Hidden Garden, yeah.
which is beautiful and it kind of a different, definitely a different feel, a different sound there. Tell us a little bit about that tune.
Yeah, that's again, I'm always writing music, and a lot of the stuff I write on the oud because I love to have on my couch oud next to me. I don't have a guitar next to me on the couch. I only have the oud. The guitar is like it's in the music room. I sit down, I practice. Okay, now I'm going to go down. I practice. I shade it. But for me, the oud is just something. It's like
Easy to
I
pick
do
up.
this, you know, and I can watch TV and just do. There's something soothing about the sound of it, something relaxing, you know.
Yes.
So the oud is like very interesting instrument. I'm gonna say a little bit about the oud here, if you don't mind.
Sure, sure.
The oud is the main instrument in the entire Arab world, including East Africa, including North Africa, up until Greece. So it's all over the Middle Eastern world. Okay, in some countries that don't even speak Arabic. So there's a lot of styles. It's not one style of the oud. The Egyptian style is a huge thing. It's the classical Arabic. Then you got the what we call muashahat. It's the classical Syrian style, which is a completely different. Then you have the Turkish style of playing, which is a different, completely different sound. Then you have the North African, and this is also generalizing because North African is not one thing. What they play in Libya is not what they play in Morocco, okay? And also in Morocco, you have like maybe 20 different subdivision of styles. It's like I'm going to tell you piano. You know, you're talking about Mozart or Beethoven, or you're talking about the Beatles or James Brown. We have piano in all of them, right? So, and there's like what we called the music of the people, you know, like it's not written music, it's traditional music of like these people here or there. And for me, I'm influenced by a lot of stuff. There's a style that's called Khaliji. Khaliji is the area of Saudi Arabia, the Gulf Peninsula. Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Qatar, all this. And that song got a little bit of the influence of that kind of like. So it's like, it's something that's a little bit influenced by that. And then there's a part that influenced very much by Sudanese music. There's in the Sudanese music, they have a lot of scales that goes like. This kind of like, I don't know how to.
More percussive, maybe. More of a percussive approach.
Definitely, and also the Khaliji is very percussive. So all of that mixed with Lenny White playing kind of like funky swing groove. I don't know how to call it. It's funny because I played with a lot of different drummers, and the way he chose to do it is the most unique. You know, I did had a part specifically for him do that. You know, it's like,
right.
That's part of the process. I like to see his interpretation of it, and he came up with something very unique.
Yeah. So then we go to side two. You have I Should Care, which is a fairly popular. That's
Right.
tune, which is really neat. But then you go into this the Three of Us, which is again back to the oud again, which another very really unique sounding song. How do you? So tell us a little bit about who are your favorite jazz guitar players, and how do you transfer over those ideas, or do you transfer those ideas over to the oud to try to get that different sound, because you get a pretty unique sound on these songs.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite guitar players is definitely going to be Charlie Christian, Wes Montgomery, Oscar Moore, Jim Hall, Kenny. Man, I'm like losing.
Kenny Burrell, maybe?
Kenny Burrell, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, the classical, all the classic jazz guitar players. I love Scofield. Scofield is like one of my biggest hero of today's time. I love blues. I listen to blues all my life. But I mean, the fact that I love those guitar players and they're a big influence on me, I still always going to tell you that I'm more influenced by Thelonious Monk than all of them.
Interesting, a piano player.
Like
right,
my biggest hero in jazz is Thelonious Monk. He's my favorite ever, and for a lot of reasons. I mean, the reasons that everybody gonna be like. Going to be telling you he's a genius of rhythm, he's a genius composer, and all this stuff, they're all true. But the reason for me that he's my biggest influence is because I can always listen to it and never get bored. Like, it could be 20, 40 years later, I listen to the same album and I'm surprised again, you know? So I'm just saying I love it because I love it. You can't explain love, you know, why you love this person or why you love to eat that. It's not, there isn't a logical explanation for love.
Right. And Thelonious Monk has such a unique approach to the notes he selects, you know, what people would call an angular approach versus linear approach, where he kind of spreads out the notes. He's very percussive with the way he plays. So he's a very interesting piano player. I've read a lot about him. I have a lot of his records, and what makes him interesting is he was very, very. People said that he could really play fast and do all the stride piano stuff, but when you hear most of his compositions, he doesn't look to play fast. He's playing a unique way of picking these notes, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And so that's influenced your playing on the guitar.
Yeah.
Or even on the oud.
On the guitar.
Yeah.
It's like when you put, it's like the guitar and the oud is like two different worlds that I feel that I can make them meet. I know a lot of great oud players that cannot do nothing that's related to jazz.
Right. It's very unique.
Obviously, thousands of jazz musicians that don't even aware that this world exists. So there's very few. I mean, I cannot tell you about too many people who can do that.
You're right. This is the only album I know of that has an oud on a jazz record that I know of. Anyway, I don't.
Well, you need to listen to my few of my previous albums.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you in particular, but yeah, that's the as far as you any other musician doing this, I don't know of anybody else.
So the reason is like because I kind of like fluent in both worlds. I can hang with the traditional Arabic situation to a degree. Okay, I mean, there's some people who do the traditional thing way better than me, but I can't do it. The jazz, I think I can hang to any degree needed. I mean, I can play any jazz situation and be fluent about it. So what? Some people like it. For some people, it don't make. It's not logical to have the two sounds in one album. And I heard that from labels before that will be like, no man, we don't. We do straight ahead jazz here, and I respect it, but that's what I do. You know, so I gotta find a house that will accept me the way I am. I'm like two worlds. I'm two different worlds in one person. So I have some albums that are like my first album is a complete straight ahead album. I recorded it in New York, only original compositions, no oud in it. My second album was a complete oud album. But after that, after those two, I do what I want to do. You know, I mean, I'm not making money out of it. So at least I gotta be honest to myself. I mean, I said that unfortunately. I wish I was making money out of it, but I don't. So I'm not obligated to please nobody but myself and my musical integrity. And if you don't like it, it's okay. Don't buy it. Or, you know.
Yeah, it's how much were you involved in, because all the records that I've reviewed on the JoJo label, I think I've reviewed 4 of them now. Mamiko's, Yotam's, yours, Simon's. They all sound very good. And this one was recorded at Sound on Sound Studios. In this Andreas Mayer, who recorded, mixed, and mastered. He's doing a fantastic job with making these sound. They sound like analog recordings. They sound so warm, so the instruments resonate. Tell us a little bit about how much were you involved in the actual recording? I know you're probably focused on playing the music, but were you involved in the mixing process or any of that stuff? Post-production?
No, not really. I mean, I was involved in the way that Simon will send me. First of all, this is an album that's really relatively very easy to mix. Relatively. because first of all, we were like, it's only three musicians. So you don't need to deal with like too much. For example, if you have, let's say I'm having four horns. So
Right.
now I need to make sure that the trumpet is not more loud than the trombone, that is not louder than the. There's a lot of mixing to do the bigger the band is. In this case, it's relatively easy. Um, my involvement was just saying, I like this less, and Simon will do it again, because I'm not in New York. So, usually I really like to be in the studio for the mastering. And this is another thing to have somebody like Simon, because you don't trust. I cannot, I'm not very trustable about my music with a lot of people. You gotta be like a real musician that knows what if I tell him, yeah, the bass is too boomy here, and he's like, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
You cannot say that to somebody that is just like, he's like, he have a dream to own a label, but he don't understand music. That's not, it's not good enough,
Right.
to
Right.
just have the dream. Like I can have a dream about fixing a Ford 150 motor, but I never change oil in my car. So that's a very nice dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this sounds fantastic. All the records so far, like I said, that and he's done, I think 3 of the 4 that I reviewed. They all sound fantastic. They're recorded very well, and you get a very warm sound to where I listen to a lot of different records, and some of them might sound more flat than others, or not as much resonance or warmth. And these are very, like I said,
Yeah,
if you told somebody this was an analog recording, they would probably believe it's an analog recording. It sounds that great.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
And having it on vinyl is wonderful. What about? So I know you went to New York for a while, right?
Yeah.
How did that influence your playing, or meeting these other people, these other musicians? How did that influence you, and what kind of experience? How long were you in New York for?
I was close to a decade, maybe if you. I I don't remember, don't know exactly if it was 8 or 9 years, around eight and a half years, let's say. Yeah.
So you're there for a while, and then you met a lot of different musicians there. Did you? And you were playing a lot of the clubs up there? Because I always, whenever I talk to a lot of jazz musicians, whether they're from the United States or even from Europe, they always talk about how important it was to go to New York, at least for a time.
Oh yeah, for me it was. I'm playing the way I am because I was in New York. That's one of the reasons. Definitely a big reason that I am who I am is because that time I spent in New York. Um, I had I basically lived, let's say, 8 years of my life dedicated to music. So New York gives you the opportunity. You can. I'm going to give you a schedule of some days that I had, and it could be day after day after day like that. I'll wake up around 11 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock, I have a 3 hour session with these three great musicians. Then at 4 o'clock, I'm going to hang with this guy and listen to a couple of albums. And at 7 o'clock, I have a 3 hours gig at some cafe. And at 11 o'clock, I'll go to the jam session and stay there till 6 in the morning. And then go to
Wow.
sleep. And the next day, do the same thing. So I'll have days that I'll play like 10 hours, just playing. I'm not talking about practicing. Playing
Right.
with people and very, very good musicians. Like everybody around me, I never played with like people that weren't great. And it was amazing. So everything I do is related to that in the way of that I the people that I hang with, they were so good, you know. And also with the oud, the reason I'm doing it, I never thought about it. You know, for me it was like completely two different worlds. I wanted to play jazz like Wes Montgomery, to be a kick-ass jazz guitar player that can play every tempo, swing on every tune, etc., etc. I wanted to be this no limits guy. Any key, any tempo, you know, that's what I was going for. And then I had the oud next to me on the couch at the house, at my apartment. And the guy that basically the first make me bring it out is, I don't know if you heard about this guy, Jay Collins.
No, I don't think
He's a
so.
great saxophone player, great. He made a choice at some point, and he, you know, because life, etc., and he started playing more like blues and rock. Then he played, I think, for about 10 years with the Almond Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but he was back then. He was like one of the great guys in the scene, you know, just playing jazz. And I was playing with him every Monday. As a matter of fact, there's an album that we recorded in, I think, 94 or 95. It's called Cross Culture or something like that.
Okay.
Jay Collins Cross Culture.
I'll have to check that out.
And, and he used to come to my apartment. We worked on music. So it's like, yeah, when can we do a rehearsal? You and me work on this couple of tunes for next Monday. So he come over and he's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "This is oud. Can you play it?" I play it. Like, "Man, this sounds amazing. Why you don't bring it out to the gig?" I'm like, "I don't even have a pickup on this. I don't know how to amplify this." So he was like really like, "Bring it out. Let's try." Because he was playing like, he was great. He still is. But at the time, he was playing also tenor and also soprano. But he was playing all those recorders, like different kind of bamboo flutes, and so it was
Okay.
kind of environment that we were. It was also very much straight edge jazz, but there was like room also for stuff more open and creative. So that's why I started bringing it. And I think if I wasn't in New York, I won't bring it.
Interesting. And then what did you just put like a microphone like you would do an acoustic guitar without a pickup and put it in front of it?
You're talking about a year's process that I'm dealing with for years. So yeah, it started with just putting a microphone in front of the sound hall. And of course you play with drummer and saxophone player and upright bass, you won't hear the oud. So I was super frustrated from that for a few months. And then I ran into this guy, this Palestinian guy in New York, and he hooked me with. He was like, "Oh man," because the oud they start amplifying it for the weddings. When they play like traditional weddings,
Gotcha.
you need it to be louder for the people to dance, etc. So he hooked me with one of those pickups. It's like really strange. It's like if I tell you the story about it today, you think I'm crazy. But what they used to do, they used to drill a hole here in the bridge and put out of here a little pin and a pin over here, and they put a rubber band from here to here, and they stick the pickup underneath the rubber band that will press it to the face. And that 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 was pretty terrible. I mean, because you depend on the rubber band. I mean, you make a movement, it's moving out. Then at some point came out the Barker's Berry that you glue to the face with kind of like this sticker strip.
Right.
And then I made an electric oud or
That
semi-acoustic.
Oh, gotcha.
semi-acoustic with under the saddle pickup, like piezo.
Right, I gotcha. Yeah.
And, yeah.
And then, what about? Have you tried any of the transducers that stick on the inside, like what a lot of people use, like the K and K
Yeah,
on acoustic?
this is the Marcus Berry.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice. So that was kind of a journey there to get
yeah.
that implementation. That's pretty cool. Were there any people in particular in New York? So tell us about the jam sessions a little bit, because in Birmingham, Alabama, here we have a jam session every Tuesday night that's hosted by Alabama Hall of Fame trumpet player here, and a lot of the younger musicians come out, and a lot of the veterans come out and they play and they have jam sessions. And tell us a little bit about those. Were those pretty important on being able to learn how to play with other people, learning standards, all that kind of stuff?
For me, it was the most important. I mean, it was very important for quite a few years. I learned all my vocabulary from that. Not all, but you learn. Okay, you transcribe a solo, but then you don't know how to really play something that's related to that. But then you go to a jam session night after night, and you're dealing with. There's something very beautiful about it in the traditional of learning jazz, that you go to a jam session and there's people that doing this for 40 years and you're doing it for 5 years, and these guys hanging with you like equals, just they're doing it for 40 years. And if you are smart enough, you respect them because they're doing it for 40 years. So, like, today I see in a lot of the schools, there's like, oh yes, the professor this for this. The fact that you have the name professor before your name don't mean nothing. It don't mean you can hang in a jam session and play, you know.
Right.
So I mean, and I'm not disrespecting nobody because it could be you could be a professor that can play. I'm just saying some professor cannot play.
Right.
So, like for me, though, I didn't went to school in New York. I went to play, and I played with people that some of them passed away. Most of them, the heroes that I went to learn from, and I learned everything from them. And not by the making notes and homework and this, by doing it. And people will be like telling you also, like you finish to play something, it's like that. So that shit was sad, man. People will kick your ass, and you
Right.
take it. You're like, if this guy tell you something, it's like, thank you for telling me.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important because a lot of people get their feelings hurt or something. If you don't have thick skin, you don't have some humility to be able to say, okay, yeah, I need to go back and get better. Or, just in my experience, I've been going to the jam sessions for going on 4 years now at the Birmingham one, since they moved to a new location. But you'll get people up there and you can see them grow over time, where they may have gotten up there and they used to play too long and repeat themselves over and over again. And Jose, who leads the jam session, he'd be like, man, you got to get up there and make your statement and get off. There are other people waiting and you're not saying
Yeah,
anything new or things
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. You learn how to behave. You learn how to behave in society. It's this what you are saying is like you cannot come and there's like eight horn players, and you cannot come and take like 10 courses
right,
over a ballad. I mean, Coltrane did it with two. Who are you to take more than that? Like that's what I really really think the jam sessions are the best school for. It's not only for music; it's also for human being behavior. You need to respect your elderly, and you need to be humble, or you're gonna be stupid and don't learn.
and there's also a certain jazz etiquette that you learn of playing with other people. The
Yeah.
etiquette of, one of the things Jose always says is, hey, you don't come up here just like a bum. You come up on stage, come up on stage in your pajamas or something, like, you
That
know,
too, yeah.
just
Yeah.
different things. And then how to play with other people, the etiquette of, whether it's just counting off the tune or whatever it is.
Yeah, and New York used. I mean, I think it still is. I just like when I go to New York, I don't hang. I'm too old to hang till 3 in the morning, But the environment of that was night after night after night, the same thing going on, and a lot of good musicians were hanging out. I think like today there still is, but I think there's a lot of the elder guys that used to be there when I was like a young man. I think the elder guys they're less well. The people that was old when I was in my 20s, some of them are dead. There's a few that is still there and still hanging. But my generation, that now we are the elderly, or mine and a little above, most of them don't hang so much. So like sometime you can. I went to a jam session like it was a Sunday afternoon jam session. The last time I was in New York, and you see only kids, and it feels like there's no responsible adult, type of thing. I think it's changing the vibe of the jam session. If there's somebody like that, everybody knows that this guy is, that I don't know, George Coleman is in the house. You're like, okay, George Coleman, you're gonna take it a little bit more seriously than if it's
Right.
just like 20 kids that try that. I'm not gonna say trying to impress, but trying to like put their case. Also, another thing, in terms of career used to be made in jam sessions. Like you play in a jam session and somebody be like, listen, you sounds good. I got 3 weeks tour coming up in 3 months in Europe. Can you do it? Or like you meet people and you meet somebody that it's fun to be with. You connect musically and then you get hired. That's how like it used to be. Then internet came and then it's become like how your social media, how you sending emails, how you following up on the emails, etc. So the jam session used to have a bigger place in the music life than it is today, I think. Maybe I'm
Gotcha.
wrong. I've never been wrong before, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. So a little bit before we go about playing guitar, learning, any recommendations to people out there that are getting into playing jazz guitar? I know for me, I grew up listening to rock music, heavy metal music, and then got into blues music. And although I think blues is related somewhat to jazz, it's got a little bit. Jazz has its own language. So for people that are more used to listening to pop music, is there any what is your take on learning jazz or learning the language and the phrasing?
Well, first of all, and the most important, is keep listening to the music. Keep listening to like the great masters of this art form that created it. I'm not going to name names, but because the list is just so long, I don't want to. If I'm going to say only Clifford Brown, then I didn't say Miles Davis. So
Right, right.
so just like keep listening, and that's what's going to enrich in your language. Then you need to before you want to be a jazz musician or jazz guitar player, before the language, you need to like know. There's some stuff you need to know. Like for example, if you don't know arpeggios, if you don't know scales, if you don't know basic stuff like this, it's gonna delay your improvement. So like I taught for many years, I always like make sure that people that if somebody come to study with me, we're gonna spend a lesson 2, 4, 8, whatever as much as it takes, because everybody's got different time to grow, you know, or to learn, or different. Some people have more time to practice than others. This guy is he's a dropout from high school, and he can practice 10 hours a day. And the other kid is got high school, and then he's doing a job to help his mother, and he can practice only 1 hour a day. It's a different situation, right?
Right.
But doesn't matter how it takes. Just learn those fundamentals. Learn your scales. Learn your arpeggios, because everything we are playing in traditional jazz related to that. We're playing. You can say also everything Bach ever wrote it is that. You know, is intervals and of scales and arpeggios. So really learn those very, very well.
And then the different jazz chords, the different voicings on there. How do you approach that when you're playing, as far as what chord voicing you're going to use on particular standards? So, for example, when you're doing "I Should Care," how do you approach that to make that standard your own and your own chord voicings on those? Or
My thing about it is make a chord melody. Make chord melody, learn to play the melody with the chords. So then if I do that for one tune, and it's almost like playing classical piece, because you kind of like playing the same thing. And then you do it for another tune. So now you got 2 tunes. And then you do it for another tune. By the 20 tune, you can do it without you just doing it. It's you don't. It's not like it's not a written classical composition anymore. It's improvised by you.
right,
There's a guitar chord melody is one of the hardest thing there is. To play melody, kind of like playing solo guitar, it's really one of the hardest thing. And I'm planning my next album to have some solo piece. I mean, I want to make this is one of my dreams is to do a solo album.
just you playing the guitar,
Yeah,
just no overdubs or anything, or would you overdub other? Just
yeah. I'm working on it for a long time. One period of my life, I had a weekly gig that I was playing solo guitar, and I got good at it. I mean, I got really good. I was like almost happy for myself. You know,
yeah, it's very difficult.
it's very difficult. It's to tell you there's one thing or one formula that works. That's what you need to do. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there is. I mean, I know there is books that tell you this is okay. You can learn this method, or it's all good. It's all good stuff. But in the end of the day, this stuff will help you develop your way how to do it. So I'm just like, my thing about it is, my suggestion is, don't get discouraged. It takes time. It's the hardest thing on guitar. You can be a great solo player and don't be able to play solo guitar. I was that for many years. All the years I was in New York, I was playing. Everybody dug me. Nobody said like, "Oh, Amos Hoffman is a lame guitar player." I was playing. Everybody was like, "Cool, sounds great." I was getting hired. People called me, etc., etc. I couldn't play a solo guitar to save my name. you know,
Yeah, that's a good.
it's
Yeah,
even if you listen to like some of the great guitar players in our history. You ever heard? I mean, how many Kenny Burrell's solo guitars did you hear?
Yeah. Yeah, you
Not
don't
that
hear.
many.
No, right.
So there's a few people who made it into their thing, like Joe Pass, for example. He did a great solo guitar. It was amazing solo guitar. From Wes Montgomery, which I rather listen to him every day on Joe Pass personally, and I really dig Joe Pass. Wes did a few here and a few there. There's like on that album there's one piece, on that album there's one piece. There's a few,
Right.
handful.
Yeah.
So
It's very
yeah.
difficult to do. Yeah. So that's exciting. So tell us before we go about your future projects and upcoming live performances. Anything you want to share with us about upcoming
Well,
recordings or
I'm going to
live?
be this coming Tuesday, day after tomorrow. I'm going to be at Smalls in New York
Oh, nice.
for one concert. And other than that, if you're not in South Carolina, there's nothing planned at the moment.
Where do you play at in South Carolina? I'm curious. Do you play regularly there? Is there any jazz places there or places you
Oh,
perform
yeah. Yeah. There's a really nice scene over here.
at? Where are you
Yeah.
at? Are you in?
I'm in Columbia, South
Okay,
Carolina.
Columbia, college town there.
Yes. So I have here three regular nights. I'm playing every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in two local bars that have jazz on the weekend.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of other stuff that's going on, just like by the week or by the month. For example, last night I'm a member here of a big band that every that's got a concert every other month. And last night we had Mike Ladone,
Oh yeah.
amazing organ player. He was the
Yeah.
guest organ and piano player. So we had like a full house. It was a great concert. So there's
Nice.
a lot of stuff here going on.
Cool. And then as far as the album goes, you think your next one's going to be the solo guitar? Or you don't know for sure what you're gonna do next, or
And my next release album is going to be also on JoJo. Uh, we don't have the exact date yet because we are on traffic jam right now. We're waiting on the green light. But the album was recorded the day before the pandemic.
okay.
Or the week before, whatever it was. And it's a great album. And you'll never hear me saying great album of anything that I did. This is like really, really fantastic album. It's me and another guy co-leading it. His name is Noam Lemish, piano
Okay.
player. He lives in Canada. He's a professor in the university in Toronto. And yeah, we recorded. It's already ready, just waiting on the traffic jam for who next.
Nice. So
That's
cool.
that's
Well,
my next project.
definitely looking forward to that. Any of the new releases coming out of the JoJo Records, I definitely will be getting, and they're doing a great job. So I'm very impressed with all of the recordings. So you definitely are on a good label, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm thankful for them for picking me, and I know I'm talking for myself, but from everybody, thank you for doing this. This is a beautiful thing that some human being showing interest in music that other people do. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody go out and get this. It's absolutely fantastic. And again, not only a great musical performance on here, but the sound quality again is just wonderful on this. So I appreciate you taking the time to hang out and have a conversation with me, and hopefully we can do this again, especially when your new record comes out.
Thank
And
you.
then if you're anywhere, you're not too far from Birmingham, so if you're ever on a road trip over here, you can get over here on a Tuesday and bring your guitar and your amp with you. they would love to have you sit in on a jam session. That's for sure.
For sure. If I'm in that direction, I'll let you know.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk soon. Take care.
Bye.
Take care.